Hello guys, this is Darko, and today I bring you the Bright Spears Weapon Spotlight from my Multi-Rarity Weapon Tier List playlist. Okay, so in this video we will cover intro, pros, cons, spears, weapon modifier and epic stat. Why can spear be a better anti-boss weapon than staff? It's not always, but there is a possibility. How much staff need to miss for spear or scythe to catch up? Chapter 7 and 14 boss analysis. Dash, runs, chase, jump, bury, double bosses, and so on. For 5.3, anti-synergy in staff's mechanics. 5.4, ice skills just make staff's DPS worse. 6. Why is spear better than staff in DPS versus mobs? 6.1, previous reasons plus 3 more for why spear better than staff in DPS versus mobs. 6.2, why staff's problems versus bosses also apply to mobs. 6.3, importance differences between mobs and bosses. 6.4, safest shotgun style user. 6.4.1, heroes projectile spawn point, shooting through walls explained, spear's heavy weakness against melee mobs, is shotgun style worth the risk? And then, on the 7, recommendations for spear users, equipment, runes, heroes, skill, choices, and order. So, let's get started in the intro. Before we properly start, I feel like most of you who will watch this video, just like with my other weapon spotlights, haven't watched this whole playlist. It is understandable, this playlist is very fucking long, but I got tons of topics to cover that I cannot cover twice. Just look at the length of these videos. I cannot cover them twice. And those topics that I organize in each weapon spotlight summary and timestamps will most likely answer your question or constructive criticism. So I beg of you to hear out my reasons first before killing me. And ready up your 2x speed listening skills and use and abuse my timestamps, because this video is going to be even longer than Staff's video. And the Scythe's video is going to be even longer than this one. So let's get started with the proper intro. Not much flame to throw at spear. This is truly a top tier weapon, sadly outshined by Scythe in 2 important situations. And one of them is the most important situation of this game. I'll talk about this in the Death Scythe weapon spotlight. And a little bit here too. So, 2. Pros. Almost never misses. This is truly overpowered and overlooked by most people. Tied for highest anti-boss DPS, depending on the boss, can lose to staff. Tied for the first in single target mob DPS with Scythe, depending on the situation, can be first or second. Tied for first in multi-target mob DPS with Scythe, also, depending on the situation, can be first or second. Excellent skill synergy. Excellent synergy with Art of Combat. Unrivaled in farming. Walls? What are those? Okay. 3. Cons. Hard to start a step. Just need a little bit of practice. Come on, it's not that hard. It's hard. Just need practice. Just 1 week, you'll learn it and you'll never forget it. It's just like learning how to ride a bicycle. Okay. Low knockback. Kinda fixable with Art of Combat, but Art of Combat isn't the best book for hard runs. Can't hit close mobs, very bad when cornered by melee mobs like B-Boss and Big Bad Boss from chapter 15 and other situations too. Okay. 4. Spear's weapon modifier and epic stat. So the Spear's weapon modifier, most people think it is 1.2 to 1.56 on the 10th stack, but many people don't know this and also cannot understand this part. There is a slight difference in Spear's epic stat increasing 0.36% each stack to Spear's weapon multiplier, so that 1.2 plus 0.36 times 10 equals to 1.56. So most people think it is like this, but the Spear's epic stat increases overall damage by 0.3 each attack, and that is 1.2 times 1 plus 0.03 times 10, and that equals to 1.56. It is the same end result, but there is a slight coding difference in this game. So this can be confirmed by testing strikes damage when using Spear and Dive Scythe. First, strikes damage isn't affected by Dive Scythe weapon modifier, so it shouldn't be affected by Spear's weapon modifier too, and it actually doesn't. So the first strikes shot isn't multiplied by 1.2, but then strikes damage is increased each time strike hits something that fits the Spear's epic stat description. You can also test it yourself. So that is not a weapon modifier. That 30% is not a weapon modifier. That is an epic stat. So it actually is. I don't think it is possible to distinguish this particular code difference with other skills. Only staff, strike, and stars. Maybe stars, but I don't know for sure. Stars are kind of difficult to look. Epic stat. When attacking a similar target, damage dealt will increase by 3% per stack, up to 30%. So 1.2 times 1.3, 1.56. Most people think it can only stack by hitting the same mob, but actually it doesn't need to be a mob, but with the same enemy. But it actually can stack by hitting the same type. So mobs or enemies are always categorized as 2 of the 4 types: ranged, melee, ground, and flying. All mobs have ranged melee, like 2 of the 4 types. So the Spear can stack between a melee ground and a ranged ground mobs or enemies. So this one is easy to test. Just attack 2 mobs that share 1 category each one, and you will see that attack once each mob that share only 1 category, and you will see that the damage dealt to the second mob is higher than the first. That means it is recognized as similar target. Okay, so with multi-shot you can charge twice as fast, and with ricochet you charge 4 times as fast. And this means with a multi-shot, front arrow, and ricochet, you instantly charge your Spear. Don't forget, diagonal arrows, side arrows, rear arrows can also stack even after bouncing off walls or piercing. So strike and Miaoxic's cats does not only help stacking, but they also benefit from staff's epic stat bonus damage. So this is why Spear has an excellent skill synergy, because most of the top skills like S, A, B tier skills synergize with Spear, and there is no skill that is useless to Spear. Yes, even diagonal side rear arrows without bouncy wall are useful to Spear, and I will explain it later. 5. Why are Spear and Staff tied in the highest anti-boss DPS? Spear can be a better anti-boss weapon than Staff, and it is not as one-sided for Staff as people may think. The Spear is my preferred weapon for anti-boss. Forget about walls problems for now, even though they still exist. This is because of the most stark difference between them, the projectile speed. Did you guys do the homework? Did you count how many times Staff actually miss boss or mobs that jump, dash, run, borrow, or teleports, and how Spear almost never misses them? Only if they super dash like 90 degrees of your attacks, then that Spear will miss one of the front arrow. If it does not have front arrow, it will never miss. Okay, so 4.1. How much exactly does Staff need to miss for Spear or Death Scythe to catch up? I'm just doing the Scythe here for fun. Scythe is the first in anti-boss. Don't worry, or should you? Okay, let's compare a 6 skill build for both of them. Actually, 3 of them. Multi-shot, 3 attack boost, 1 crit boost, and 1 diagonal arrow for Staff, and 1 front arrow for Spear. Then let's use mean value of Staff's crit chance 90% and full value of Spear's multiplier 1.56. Why is that? Because Spear's multiplier can be fully charged by the third attack, that is less than 2 seconds, while Staff's crit chance depends on boss HP, that is the whole fight. With base crit stats, and there you go, you can pause the video here and watch the numbers. You can calculate them for yourself, use your own calculator and see if I made some mistake or not. Just like the other weapon spotlights, I present to you all of the calculations so that it is not just random numbers, random fake numbers. So there you go. So Staff has 15.96 over 13.06, 94 over 0.6 equals to 22.08% more damage than Spear if everything hits, and 31.34% more than Death Scythe. So if Staff misses 18% of its shots, then Spear catches up, and if Staff misses 23%, then Death Scythe catches up. Why is the percentage different? Because that is how math works. You can see over there, one is 100%, and then the percentage of Spear's damage over Staff's damage is 13.06 over 15.94. So 1 minus that is the miss percentage that is Staff has tolerance to. So after you reach that, you deal less damage than Spear, because it will be less than 13.06. That is the damage of the Spear. With my crit stats, there we go. Staff has 22 over 18 equals to 1.246, 24.6% more damage over Spear, and 34% more over Death Scythe. So if Staff misses 19%, then Spear catches up, and if Staff misses 25%, then Death Scythe catches up. You might think 19% is too much, right? And there's no way in any circumstances that Staff can miss that much, right? Notice that the Death Scythe is not too far behind, with only 25.4% miss to catch up. But the problem with Scythe is that it also misses, unlike Spear. So Death Scythe stays in the third place if Staff doesn't miss too much, right? Just don't choke and you win against the Spear and Scythe. Let's see. So this is very important. I want you guys to notice that every time you see one of the diagonal arrows miss, that is 33% miss. If both diagonal arrows misses, that is 66.67% miss. And there are more situations where Staff just misses everything. So keep that in mind whenever you play with Staff. It is not like the more particles there are on the screen, the more damage you will deal, because that is actually the opposite. When the more particles there are on the screen means you are missing everything. The more you are missing. So yeah, not very good. So next, let's analyze boss from 7 and 14. Why not other chapters? Because Scythe is the king for other chapters. This will be explained in the Scythe spotlight. I can't wait for you to guys see the scythe's power. Chapter 7, Immobile Bosses. Scarecrow, Epic, Electric, Flying or Flying Pig, I don't know what to call them, the plant. Then, Mobile Bosses. Fireworm, Burrows, but not too much. Skulls, constant running. Spiders, constant running. Bat dashes at you. Tree jumps at you. Wolf jumps at you. Cactus dashes at you. Golem spins, runs towards you. Double worms, burrows after each attack. Then, Chapter 14, Immobile Bosses. Scarecrow, blue elemental that shoots spikes, blue spikes, dark blue spikes, tornado mages, and blue elemental. Yeah. Others two, like there's a double boss. So it might be, it has several variants. But Tornado Mage and Blue Elemental, then it can be 2 Tornado Mages or 2 Elemental, I don't know, but they are there. Spike Mage, the ones that shoot the one that is like a Blue Elemental, but is Mage, so it also shoots dark blue spikes. Then an Ice Golem. Is different from the normal golem. It shoots ice balls, and there's a boss version of it. So mobile bosses. Ice 4-legged ice spider. I don't know how to say. I don't know the name, but it jumps at you. This is the boss that is the last boss from chapter 14 when there are 2 of them. Double 4-legged ice spider, and then there is a bee and blue thing that I don't know how it is to say. They spawn bees close to you and also close to the walls, and they chase you. And then there's a flying pigs, dragons. They chase you. Ice guy from the chapter 9 last boss dashes towards you and buries a lot. So double trees jumps a lot at you. Double worms buries after each shot. This means a lot. Double Death Scythe mages spins towards you a lot. Double stone golems spin towards you. Double 4-legged ice spider jumps at you. Okay. You can see for yourself which category has more or the hardest bosses, especially in chapter 14, where most people get stuck. So, there we go. 4.2.1. Dashes, runs, and chase. When bosses dashes or runs towards you or simply chases you, the diagonal arrows generally will miss. That is 66% miss rate. This is already a big hit, and since diagonal arrows don't hit things close to you, you will need to keep moving a lot to make distance or else you will miss 66% of your attacks. So walking a lot makes you attack less, or you don't walk and miss 66%. So just doing the optimal dodging, that is walking perpendicular to their dashes, is not enough for staff, since you are still too close and will miss, but spear hits it all. And there is a thing called that I call it hero redirection speed. Redirection speed. It is just a fancy name for the rotation speed of of your hero. So have you ever wondered why the fuck staff's projectiles are so cursed when changing targets? Sometimes you miss enemies that are just right in front of you. This happens when your attacks are coming out before your hero rotates fast enough for attacks to line up with the enemy, and it happens very often when you are stepping, sliding, so that you can avoid enemy attacks, especially in boss fights. So in staff's defense, bosses have big hitbox, so it is less likely you will miss your diagonal arrows if they charge towards you. Some bosses still have small hitboxes though, and even though it is a big hitbox, it still can miss. and it is not very little. You can look for you can record it yourself. So 4.2.2, jump and bury. When bosses jumps or buries, all the projectiles that haven't reached the boss will miss. Depending on how safe you play, like how far away you play from the boss, and how often boss moves, you can miss. From 0%, boss never moved, impossible considering boss fights usually take a long while. If it didn't take long enough, then it doesn't matter which weapon you choose because it would be a farm either way. So from 0% up to 100% when boss keeps jumping on you non-stop like double trees for example. So 4.2.3, double bosses. When there are double bosses, spear's projectile speed makes you not miss any ricochet, while staff has a very different story. If both bosses are not kissing each other or having a statue contest, then most of the staff's projectile will miss from one boss to another one. Remember that Ricochet's damage multiplier is 253%, and that can easily make Spear's damage far superior to Staff's damage. 4.3, Anti-synergy in Staff's mechanics. If you have been paying attention since Staff's Spotlight, there is anti-synergy in Staff's mechanics. If you are not enough from the boss or mob, diagonal arrows won't hit. But if boss or mobs jumps, or buries, or teleports, then most of your attacks will miss. And the farther you are away from the boss, the more you will miss. So this is the anti-synergy in the staff's mechanics. There are more anti-synergy later on that I will present. So, ice skills doesn't save staff's DPS. I think a huge part of you guys will say freezing the enemy over and over again will make them stay quiet and let staff's projectiles hit. Ice skills are useless for 4 different reasons. First of all, staff is already tight on DPS check against spear. If staff loses an important DPS skills like crit boost and get a freeze skills, then spear will just have a better DPS regardless if staff misses a little bit less or not. Second reason is that elemental effect and damage doesn't activate multiple times even if you have a multi-shot or front arrow, diagonal, side arrows, and so on. So with my crit stats, there we go. The same as before, staff now has 1 crit master crit boost less. So that is 18.36. Spear has the same DPS as before, 18.03. So that is a 1.83% increase. So that is when it is just better. Spear is just better than staff. Because you cannot freeze the boss infinitely, so that all of your attacks will hit. And the third reason is that strikes and stars are just DPS leecher. Why? Because they don't increase the damage of other skills that other skills deal, and they just use other skills buff to power themselves up. So it is not a give and take situation. They just take and not give anything. A simple example is when you pick up a second strike. The first strike doesn't contribute anything to the damage that the second strike has, and vice versa. This is the sign of additive scaling and not multiplicative scaling. And additive scaling has a very unpleasant characteristic called diminished returns. What is this? Let's say you doubled your DPS by getting the first strike. Now you get the second strike. When you get the second strike, you will only increase your DPS by 50%. And then the third strike will only increase by 33%. And the fourth strike plus 25%. You might think, what's so bad about this? I now have 5 times my previous DPS with these 4 skills. If that is not multiplicative, then what is? So additive scaling is trash compared to multiplicative scaling, because multiplicative scaling has exponential growth and not multiplicative growth like additive scaling. So rage is an example of multiplicative scaling skill. If a skill like rage can be picked up several times, the first time you pick it up, you will double your damage, just like strike. It doubles your damage. But the rage also doubles the second and the third time and so forth. By the end of the 4 skills, you will have 16 times your original DPS, while 4 strikes only gives you 5 times. If this goes on one more time, the 5th rage increases your DPS to 32%, while 5th strike only to 6%. This is why you can only pick up 1 rage and 4 strikes. The balancing team are not that dumb. They don't want you to pick up lots of multiplicative scaling skills by flooding the skill pool with useless additive scaling skills. So remember this: what makes a group of things more than the sum of their parts? It is the multiplication. If you think rage is the only multiplicative skill, that is not totally true. The skills that I've been picking up this whole time were all multiplicative with each other and are not multiplicative with themselves. But are not multiplicative with themselves. Or else you could just stack the same skill over and over again, and there will be no point in me doing any of these guides. And there is not only a multiplicative skill inside the game. Outside of the game, there is a very important multiplicative stat, that is the weapon multiplicative stat, weapon multiplier. That is why it is so important, because even though it doesn't double your DPS every time, when you stack multiples of them, they grow exponentially and will explode and win over any additive skills. So the 4th reason why this doesn't work is because all freeze skills have a maximum freeze time of 0.5 seconds, and that is not nearly enough time for Staff's slow projectile. The only thing it does is to reset the boss and mob's attack animation and make them attack faster, just like how you start a step to reset your animation and making you attack faster. And this is not counting how much those strikes misses too. Those strikes are blind, I tell you. Like I said before, this part of the comparison gets gray. Staff and spear gets the better of each other under different situations. It is not a one-sided win like most people think staff has. It is up to you guys to test out both of them and feel for it yourself. You will trade a consistent and clean DPS to an all over the place DPS that pollutes your screen, suffers a lot by walls, and isn't even a big increase over the opposition, big increase in DPS over the spear. And I still haven't mentioned shotgun style for spear and depth scythe yet. So like I said in the intro of this playlist, this game doesn't restrict you from trying different weapons. The only restriction you have is having more than 3 ancient legendary weapons if you don't have infinite time to farm. And I already listed the tier list for top 3 weapons. Staff is in there. You can change your weapon anytime. So 6. Why is spear better than staff in mobs single and / multi target DPS? Oh, I just noticed now that I forgot to shift down the numbers. I just added the intro, so all the numbers got shifted down, but the 5.1 is actually 6.1 and I haven't shifted down, but I'll do it later. Including previous reasons, plus 3 more reasons why is spear better than staff versus mobs. So 5.2, why the reasons I just mentioned that applies to bosses also applies to mobs, because mobs can also bury, teleport, dash, run, jump, especially those that are the most annoying and should be killed first. and staff can't kill them fast enough. By fast enough, I mean before they unfreeze from Frozen Bracelet and burrow or teleport again and get a chance to hit on you. Not only once, but for the second or third time too. They appear near you and get a free hit on you, and you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the teleport soldiers from 11, fire tentacles from chapter 13, fire worms from 15 and 16, and others. You know they are the main reason you can't clear 11, 13, and maybe 15 or 16. Maybe the first mob, they should be the first mob to die so that they don't get another free chance to hit you. And remember, staff is extra weak against close range mobs, misses 66% of the time of your diagonal arrows. Know what weapon can kill them the fastest? Do you know what weapon can kill them the fastest when you are under equipped? That's Staff Scythe. So, for the next 3 reasons, you will need to understand the difference between bosses and mobs. So, there are very important differences between mobs and boss. And those are hitbox, numbers, and rooms, mobs/obstacle distribution. So the first reason is that staff suffers heavy damage loss because of walls and cramped space. I already discussed this in the staff spotlight. About cramped space, mobs' rooms are usually smaller than bosses' rooms, and when they are not smaller, even though they are not smaller, mobs also still spawns right beside you anyways. So all the diagonal arrows will miss because they spawn near you and close to the wall. So yeah, there's no escape. You will miss your diagonal arrows. If not 66%, 33% will miss. So, and the target mechanic in this game targets the closest enemy to you. So either way, you will miss your diagonal arrows. So second, the reason is that the reason why the staff always uses more projectile than the necessary to kill a mob. So that is the second reason, that the staff always uses more projectiles than necessary to kill a mob. This is a problem because mobs are strong in numbers. Differently from bosses, it doesn't matter after you kill the boss. It does matter after you kill one mob, because there are 5 other mobs, or 6, 7, 8 other mobs that you have to kill. So wasting projectiles after each kill is unacceptable. And this happens because the target system, because of the target system this game uses. Your hero doesn't automatically retarget once enough projectiles to kill a mob are fired. So you need to move your hero to retarget, and most of the time, the next mob is untargetable if you don't kill the current mob first. So you are constantly wasting projectiles for each mob, and this means all the projectiles that were wasted are not directed at the next mob, thus counted as miss too. Since there are always multiple mobs in the room, the wasted projectiles just keep adding up. 3. I feel like I didn't give enough importance to how Spear's ricochet is overpowered. When I say this was a huge bonus for Spear in boss analysis. So I'll say it again. Spear just can't miss. All ricochet will hit all 4 times every time. That is 253% area damage guaranteed. If you compare this to the staff accuracy with ricochet, it's just sad, too sad. 4th, and the third reason is that staff. Wait, what? Yeah, the 3 is actually not an additional reason. It's just me repeating myself. But the 4th. The third reason is that staff isn't the only weapon that can make use out of the diagonal arrows without a bouncy wall. So I think I forgot to tell you that the mobs are smaller and they are harder to hit the diagonal arrows. So you have to stay further away to hit the diagonal arrows. So this is where the cramped space enters. Okay, so 4. And the third reason is that staff isn't the only weapon that can make use out of the diagonal arrows without a bouncy wall. Shotgun's playstyle is a thing and is super effective against mobs bosses and close range mobs that you know the attack pattern and can exploit it. Let me know if I should make a video about shotgun style and how to make it work while reducing the risks of being hit. This playstyle is actually advanced level. It is much more difficult to pull off than Star Step because you need deep understanding of the enemy, a very good timing, positioning, and prediction. It is really a feat to perfectly pull it off, but most of the time you don't need to perfectly pull it off and still get a lot of value. What is a shotgun playstyle? To summarize, shotgun playstyle utilizes invisibility frame and enemies attack cooldown or exploiting the blind spots from the bosses or enemies to burst it down with diagonal, side, rear arrows. Why am I saying this now? 5.4 safest shotgun style user. It's actually 6.4 because spear is the safest shotgun style user, and 6.4.1 heroes projectile spawn point, and I'll explain why spear is the safest shotgun user. So 6.4.1 heroes projectile spawn point. Many people already know this, but I still need to point it out. Your projectiles don't actually spawn from the center of your hero's model. It actually spawns from the different places depending on the weapon. So the bow's projectiles spawn from the center of the bow just like in real life. Saw, tornado, and death scythe spawn from the hero's hand. Staff and spear from their respective weapon's tip. And this is what makes spear the safest shotgun style weapon. It may be the hardest to pull off, but it is still the safest to pull off. So that is because of spear's weapon model size. It is long, so the projectiles spawn very far from the hero, thus making all 3, 5, or even 7 or 8 arrows from the diagonal side rear arrows to hit the mobs without you having to be in great danger. Actually, the max is 10. So then max is 11 actually. Max efficient, right? I don't know. You can keep adding the front arrows. So 6.4.2 shooting through walls. You might also have already noticed that you can sometimes shoot through walls with a spear. Why is it in quotations? Most people say you have to kiss the wall and the mob have to be straight across the wall for you to shoot through wall and so on. But no need for that if you know what is going behind. So it actually is not possible to shoot through walls excluding bug exceptions. I got one of the strangest wall bugs caught on camera in my Star Step guide. I was with Death Scythe. So the reason why you can shoot through walls is because the spear's length is larger than the wall's thickness. So the spear's tip is already on the other side of the wall and you shoot past walls, not through walls. But this does not happen in all situations. So here is something very few people know. Weapon size matches up to the hero's model size. Different heroes have different model size, and giant and dwarf also can modify it. Most of you who found out spear can shoot past walls probably were using Helix, Tyrannus, or Onir, because their natural model size can already make spear's size larger than the wall's thickness. The rest of the heroes need a giant to make it work. And as you could have guessed, dwarf makes Helix, Tyrannus, and Onir not able to shoot past walls anymore. On the other side, giant makes them so much easier to shoot past walls. No need to kiss the wall or have a very limited angle / positioning. Knowing this, you can also cut wall corners. Try to find more angles to make walls your shields instead of the enemy's shields. Staff. So, spear's weakness against melee mobs. Being able to shoot past walls is also the reason why spear shoots past mobs when they are close to you. This combined with very low knockback end up being the reason spear is weak against is a weak weapon for dealing with a bunch of melee mobs. And this is one of the two main reasons why Death Scythe is a better weapon than spear for hard chapters. thus making the king of hard chapter. So if you think Staff is free from being bullied, you are wrong. The final nail in the Staff's coffin will be presented in left side weapon spotlight. You must be thinking, what about the shotgun style you just said? Wouldn't it be perfect for this situation? A bunch of melee mobs chasing after you, so you just need to be on the perfect distance and poof, easy shotgun opportunity. That is true to single melee mobs. Now when there are multiple melee mobs, they actually push each other, and the positioning to shotgun safely becomes extremely difficult because of the chaos. And you can only attack once and not multiple times because the mobs keep coming, keep pushing. So Spear's positioning is already one of the hardest, if not the hardest, for a shotgun playstyle to work. Can't be too far, can't be too close. If you add more chaos to it, then yeah, it is, or you are a god in this game and you can clear anything with any weapon, or nope, it just doesn't work. Spear can be the safest shotgun user because you can be more than a wall's thickness apart from the mob and still hit all your diagonal arrows. But the positioning is quite difficult, making Spear the hardest one to learn. Once mastered though, yeah, that's when you can clear anything. Is shotgun style worth the risk? So by how much does shotgun style actually make the other weapons better? Is it worth it? I say it is very situational, but definitely worth it, because it is in exactly those situations you will need the shotgun the most. Most of the time, a sudden DPS burst is all you need to deal with extra annoying bosses or mobs, as I already described before, especially when you are low on damage. You need to kill them fast so that they don't get another free hit on you. So let's go back to those 6 skills we used to compare and the miss threshold, and add a diagonal arrow for Spear and a rage skill for Staff. With base stats, there you go. Spear deals 63% more damage than Staff, and so Staff would need to be at 36% HP to equalize. And then with my stats, critical stats, Spear will do 60% more damage than Staff, and so Staff would need to be at 40% HP to equalize. Don't forget, the final nail in the Staff's coffin is in the left side weapon spotlight. So recommendation for Spear users. Spear is actually a quite balanced weapon that makes excellent use out of everything in this game, so there are very few restrictions on your account to make it work. But I do have some tips. 6.1, actually 7.1. For equipment / runes, nothing mandatory, just the standard best equipment. Frozen bracelet are recommended for all weapons. If you are too worried about Spear's lack of knockback, then use Art of Combat. For runes, just try to roll Ricochet, Rage, Multi-Shot, Front Arrow, and you are ready. 7.2. For heroes, it is the same as Staff. You want heroes that actually have skills that make use not only of the weapon's damage modifier and epic stat, but also in-game skills. So Myaojik's Cat, Helix Rage, Ayana's simple damage buff, that is insane. Shade's 75% damage buff, that's insane too. So all of them are very good with Staff and can benefit from Staff. So Tyrannis is not a bad choice, but the 4 above is just better. Please don't choose a hero just because it can naturally shoot past walls, unless you are a heavy exploiter of this mechanic, as known as wall playstyle users. Well, it's not known as because I'm calling it this way right now, because most mobs can shoot over walls anyways. So wall playstyle users are like they can shoot you even though you are inside the wall or on the other side of the wall. So I actually don't know if Shari's or Bonnie's skills are affected by Spear, and I couldn't care less because they are not worth using anyways. So 6.3 skill choices order. 7.3 actually. Not much of a strict order to follow. For choices, you can follow the dream skill combo video that I have for you, and you will be set for all chapters. So the next one is Depth Scythe. This one will be even longer. Be prepared. So this is it for the Spear weapon spotlight. So remember, the final nail in the staff's coffin is in the Depth Scythe weapon spotlight. Oh my god, where's the intro? Oh, here. So this is it for the Bright Spear's weapon spotlight. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys on the Scythe weapon spotlight. This is Darko Miku signing out. Bye.